the sideline with crutches, still wearing your game jersey and your helmet. You can't play, but you're still part of the team.
Well, yes, I couldn't let my players down. They was, my teammates, they was always there for me. When I got hurt, they still try to make me keep my head up. And, by me wearing my helmet, it helped them, helped me, keep me from, breaking down in tears sometimes just watching them. And, so I wore the helmet to support them.
You got an occasional headbutt out of it.
Yeah, because I know Sean Ellis and them, they would get a sack, come to the sideline, and do anything. So
Bill,
I was
one
prepared.
Play that you'll always be remembered for is the Arkansas fumble. Tennessee was down, looked like an out in that game. Do you remember the mindset on the team when you came back out for that series, knowing that you had to come up with something?
Well, when that happened, I think we was on the sideline. I think Al Wilson was, cutting up, just mad because the game wasn't going the way it should have. And, I just something told me in my mind, this may be the last play of this game, man. I told Al that we was going to get this ball back. We was going to win this game. That's our motivation is we can't lose to anybody. So, we went out there, I was going to play each one of those plays with 150% effort. And at one play, I pushed the guy back, and there the ball was. And we won the game.
Bill H., I'm sure you replay the play over in your mind all the time. At the time, did it seem like he was going in slow motion almost?
Oh, man. I think that was one of the slowest plays I ever been in. I think that ball was there for at least 3 seconds. And, I'm looking at it, thinking how I'm going to get this ball. When I saw it, I was like, oh, my goodness, I got to get it. Because, I have never been here, like to recover fumbles and stuff. And that's one thing the coaches stress on, ball, ball, ball. And I saw it and I picked it up.
And it was almost like, I guess you were maybe running in quicksand or something. You just couldn't get there fast enough.
Oh, man, he was, offensive lineman, they are holding you and everything. And I'm trying to get away from him. And when I finally got off of him, it was a blessing, dream come true.
I think the biggest thing that year was that we didn't have any true superstars. Other than maybe Al Wilson, he was a pretty big star, but not huge like Peyton Manning was, anybody. And I think that we was just a unified team. And that year, I think that's one of the biggest assets you can have as a team. And I think that's the mark of a championship team, is being unified and everybody being hungry and everybody wanting to get to the glory, but nobody was actually had the glory yet. So I think that was just a winning edge for that team.
Spencer, some people thought when you came to Tennessee you might be an offensive lineman your whole career. Did you think that when you first started?
Yeah, I didn't want to make the move to offense because I thought of myself as a pretty good defensive tackle. And, everybody in the country thought I was a pretty good defensive tackle. But, the thing Tennessee does, they recruit real good defensive tackles and then they switch them to offense. So they got me on that one. But, besides that, I can't complain one bit. I've won 2 SEC championships and a national championship, so I'm not going to argue about it.
Spencer, you became part of the Tennessee legend with the Florida game this year. You broke your hand. You probably knew it was broken early. Was there ever a thought that you were coming out of that game?
No, because it was Florida. As a Tennessee Vol, once you get here, you hate Florida, and I couldn't imagine myself my senior season breaking my hand, my snapping hand, and leaving the game. I said, no, there's no way. I'm staying in. It doesn't matter. The pain goes away after a while because you just get beside yourself after a while, and you just start going off instincts. So it's a wild thought going back at it and looking at it for me.
But it's like just hitting your hand against the wall for 70 times after you've broken it when you look at it that way.
Yeah, you're like, is he all there in the head sometimes? But that's how much love I have for the game and the University of Tennessee. But, I would go back and do it over and over again. I have no regrets doing that.
Well, obviously it was a pleasure to recruit them, period, because it's just such a great family. And having had a somewhat of at least a reasonable friendship with Archie going in, or we knew who each other was at least because we'd played against each other and crossed paths and had friends who had with each other. And so it wasn't hard getting in the door because we just, had an opportunity for a young player here and had some success with quarterbacks recently, but to close the deal was the challenge, and again they were great to work with, and we had to answer a ton of questions, because the Mississippi-Tennessee rivalry at one time had been so heated, especially when in that late '60 era when we played against each other, had been such a real special part of both schools' traditions. To step over that boundary was a real big deal, and to convince them to step over the boundary was a real big deal at the time. I remember, of course, everybody that follows Tennessee football knows about Archie Who and Steve Kiner and the Mules and all that sort of thing. And we were having a great meeting with Peyton's family and Olivia, who was just a special lady on her own, and it was going really well. And out of the blue, she turns to me and she said, "By the way, Philip, is Steve Kiner still around UT?" And I said, "Oh no," she remembers too. So, that was a little bit of an unsettling moment, to say the least. And the actuality of it, I let David and Peyton, David Cutcliffe and Peyton, establish that relationship over that evening that we were able to spend in the home. And obviously we had tons of phone calls and conversations and letters and things leading up to that. And I think David was an instrumental part of that, because Archie and particularly Peyton saw that this was a guy that would be good for Peyton, and getting him here and having the great success that he had was what both of us wanted.
When did you find out that he was coming back for senior year?
Well, exactly found out. I think it was the day of, the morning of. I had a good feeling about it at different times, and Peyton and I had a number of individual discussions, and one thing I told him at the time is I would not want to get into a poker game with him, because he was able to keep a really straight face, and I think legitimately going through, a lot of the decision-making process. But I knew going into the press conference, and he made me swear I could keep a straight face, and I told him I was a good poker player too, and I did. And I think we actually, as solemn as we were as we approached the podium there initially, that everybody said, "Oh no, he's leaving." But we're very grateful that he stayed, and I think he benefited from it, and very grateful that he did stay too, because he got the utmost out of his college experience that you can possibly get.
Is the '98 team your favorite team of the decade?
Well, yeah. I mean, it'd have to be the highlight of my head coaching career. To run the table and win the national championship. I've told our team a lot of times this. That team of '94, when we struggled. We lost Jerry and we lost Todd Helton, and in between we had gone to Georgia and beaten them good, and come back and lost Todd. And then that team will always be really special to me, because of the heart and the character and the fight that they showed, and the loyalty to each other that they showed, and overcoming all kinds of adversities, physical adversities, mental adversities, pressures from all over the place, and to go on and lay the foundation. That was a special team. Really, if you look at it realistically, and we tried to, the Peyton's senior year, we were very, very close to winning a national championship, and so I guess you could really say 97, 95, 97, 98, we did win it. Those were all really special teams, and it always gets back to players. It really does, to people, and all those teams were fun people to be around, fun players to coach, and oftentimes we forget that they're just kids. I mean, they're just 18 to 22 years old, and helping them through the different things that comes up in 18 to 22-year-olds' lives, establishes a bond that goes a lot further than the football field. And those teams were all really responsive to each other's needs and our needs, and put the team first.
Did you put your stamp on the offense in the early 90s?
Yeah, I think you'd have to probably again look at the roots of all this, and as a coordinator, which I really wanted to be at first before I was a head coach, and that's it. That's the natural progression anyway. A lot of my background goes back, and I've been around some really fine offensive coaches, but it goes back to Jim Wright, who was a coordinator here and really ahead of his time with motions and formations and using the quarterbacks to operate the game. And then Walt Harris was very special. I learned a lot from Walt Harris while he was here, and we shared a lot. And being around Doug Matthews and Kippy Brown, those were really special coaches. Al Saunders was here for a period of time, who's now coaching and professionally. And so I was blessed to be around some really fine coaches to learn from. And I felt like I was ready, and I got the opportunity in '89. And particularly that year, we had to manage the offense because our defense wasn't particularly strong. And so I found that the best way to win as a football team is to work together offensively and defensively, use the talents of the players to the utmost and minimize your mistakes. And we were able to do that. Led the conference in rushing and kept our defense off the field a lot. We ended up having the ball every game practically 5 and 6 and 7 minutes more than our opponents did, which was a big advantage. And we had the long drives and those kind of things. And then as we progressed and we changed people, which you do in college football, every year you have a group of seniors graduate, we were able to change and use different parts of the offense and different background, and using my different background to make and mold that particular offense to fit the personnel. So I had some great experiences at that. We went from leading the conference in rushing in '89 and '90, to leading it in passing in '91. Because our personnel changed, and we had the great receivers, not so good in the offensive line, experienced quarterback. Defense was better, so we were able to do more things and take more chances. And as we've gone through the different stages of quarterbacks, the different stages of our total people, we've been able to change to help us continue to be a good offensive team. I don't think we've been out of the top 3 or 4 teams in the conference in offense since I've been here. So, yeah, I'd like to think that we've made a significant contribution to the philosophical approach to offense here. We want to be physical. We want to be able to use the field. If you'll see our screen game, and we'll throw it down the field, but yet it always goes back to being able to run the football if you can, because from a weather standpoint, from an injury standpoint, if you can run the football, then those things don't affect you as much. But to be able to big play, people, when Heath Schuler was a senior, we had an offense. It wasn't out there to move the ball. It was out there to score every play. I mean, that was the approach that we took, and we did, a lot. We had a lot of big plays. And then as Peyton took over after the graduation and the injuries and everything, then we were much more guarded and took care of ourselves in lower games, lower numbers and stuff. But as Peyton developed and grew, then, we were back to trying to score every time we had the football. So if you can get the good players and mold them into I think our offense gives them a chance. And you just look at the number of guys that have gone on to the National Football League that would have probably done well anywhere else, but maybe not reached the levels that they've reached being involved in our system.
Did you know that Peyton was going to be special when you first saw him walk around the complex?
Not really. I'd heard all about, the hype about his dad and, Archie Manning being a great quarterback, and Peyton was this great quarterback coming from Louisiana and stuff, and actually, or from Mississippi. And actually that year, we had two great quarterbacks come in with him and Brandon Stewart. Both came in, both, top-rated quarterbacks. And Peyton just, he seemed to develop a lot faster and just pick up the game a lot quicker. And he made a lot of plays for us. But when I first saw him, first met him and stuff, I remember he went out with us. He come in during the summer, and he was telling us about how great of a baseball player he was and all this stuff he did in high school. So we had a intramural softball team. So we, why don't you come out and play with us and stuff. I remember he struck out playing softball, and I was like, well, geez, I don't know how this guy's going to work. I don't know how good of an athlete this guy is, but he really come through and had a great career here. Great guy, and he's really fun to play with. He's a great leader.
Well, actually, the season, my first redshirt year, we were pretty good, and ended up winning the Peach Bowl. I remember being scared to death the first time I ran through the tee, and the first game was at the Meadowlands. We played in the Kickoff Classic against Iowa, and I'm sitting on the sidelines and just thinking, man, I'll never be able to play here. Here I am, just there a couple of weeks. I don't even know the basic handoffs, how to hand it off, we call the tailback and the two-hole. How do I do that? I didn't know anything, so I'm sitting on the sidelines just basically just a fan watching the game. People in the stands probably knew as much about our offense as I did. So it was a learning experience that first year, but a lot of fun. I was fortunate. Coach Harris was there, a very good coach, and Jeff Francis was the quarterback, and Randy Sanders was the quarterback at that time. So those guys were very helpful with us young guys trying to learn a little bit of the system right off the bat. But I was clueless those first few weeks.
Then the second year, your true freshman year, then you and Sterling Hinton, right, to start?
Well, actually, Jeff was still there, quarterback, and unfortunately for Sterling, he got hurt that season. He was injured, so that actually moved me into the backup role as a redshirt freshman. I didn't get a lot of playing time, but I got a few times to get in and mop up here and there. I did get in against Auburn at Auburn one year and took a nice sack from Tracy Rocker, which that's a memorable experience in front of about 80,000 people, and I was still scared to death. And Coach Harris put me in with, I think it was still in the first half, just to set Jeff out for a minute. I'm thinking, what is he thinking, putting me in this situation? And I got sacked. I remember looking up at Rocker. I'm on the 1 yard line, and couldn't hear anything. All I could see was him standing over top of me. And that was third down, and I'm like, thank goodness this was third down. Get me out of here. But it was a learning experience, a fun year. Didn't play a whole lot, but got a little bit of mop-up time, and that was a thrill to actually get my first chance to get in a real game.
I guess there's nothing you would do differently coming out of high school than going to Tennessee and doing what you did.
The only thing, I guess, if I could go back and change, I would probably go back and every third Saturday in October and play those games over. I wish I could do that. Not beating Alabama when I was there is probably the most disappointing thing that I, if you'd asked me going in, what one team do you want to beat while you're at Tennessee? And without a doubt, it would have been close between Vanderbilt and Alabama, but, Alabama would have been right there, and we didn't do that, so that was disappointing. But looking back on it now, I had such a great time at Tennessee, and I met so many of my close friends now and coaches, and it was just such a great experience. I wouldn't change a thing other than maybe getting a chance to play Alabama once or twice.
But wearing the orange shirt still is something. Do you still get goose pimples and everything?
Without a doubt. When that tee opens up, I get the goosebumps. I still, honestly, I don't know all those guys now, the players up there now, the seniors, because it's been several years since I was there. I know who they are, but I don't know them personally. But when the tee opens up for the seniors to come through for their last run, I get a lump in my throat every time. I tell you, it's tough because I remember the last time I ran through and the emotions that I felt. And I know those guys are feeling that. And it's tough. It's very emotional for me. It really is.
You still feel part of it? You still feel like you're part of the team?
I still feel like I'm a part of something very special, a part of something that it's really hard to describe. I don't know. I do feel a part of it. Obviously, I don't feel like I'm a part of the everyday team deal, but I feel like I'm a part of something that's very special, a part of a tradition that continues, a part of something that was started, 100 years ago, that's going to, I know, continue to be strong for 100 more years. And I'm very proud and feel very fortunate and proud that I'm a part of something that special, that's been so special not only to the players but to so many people in the state of Tennessee and across the country. And I know that it means so much to so many people. I'm just so happy that I was a part of that.
I know that every game, the officials would come in and mark balls, and then you would try and sneak in old kicking balls or just the worst deflated balls you could find. Tell me the best story about that.
I guess, I don't know, maybe the best story was at practice one day. I wasn't a big fan of brand new balls. They're kind of sticky, and when you throw them, they have a tendency to slip out a little bit. For me, anyway. Some guys like them. I didn't like brand new balls at that time. So I guess the best story, and I did. I tried to sneak in as old as I could. I wish I had $1 for every ball we got rejected by the officials. I mean, there was a pile of balls that we could use in the games, and there was probably a pile this big that we couldn't use for the games, and all the managers were like, here we go again. We have to sift through all these balls, try to find the oldest ones we can that we can get by. But one day at practice, we were, a new ball had gotten in, and I threw a pass, and it slipped out of my hand, and I lost my temper. And I ran and grabbed the ball, and Coach Cutcliffe asked me, what's wrong? I was like, they got these dang new balls in here. That was just an excuse, but I was just mad because I threw a bad pass, and I took it. And I threw it as hard as I could towards Lower Hudson. And it probably had to be the longest, prettiest spiral that I threw in my whole career at the University of Tennessee. I mean, that ball shot out of my hands, and it had to go at least 65, 70 yards, which for me, that was a heck of a throw. And Coach Cutcliffe, and I kind of stopped, and Coach Cutcliffe just looked at me, and he said, I don't ever want to hear another story about a brand new ball again. He said, that's the best ball you've ever thrown here at Tennessee. Now take your butt over there and get it. So I had to go run, jump the fence, sprint, and run, pick the ball up and bring it back. So I didn't say much about the new balls after that. And I kind of learned my lesson.
But the officials, did they get onto you? They called.
No, they would just reject them. They didn't care. They didn't. The managers had to, Frazier and those guys had to give them a set of balls, the game balls. They'd go through and mark them. If they were good, they put a little mark on them. If they weren't, they tossed them. So there was a big pile of tossed balls every week. And,
you never doctored any of the old balls to try and match up the signatures and sneak them in there?
Better not say anything about that. Those guys may still be trying to do that. I better not give any secrets away.
That's good.
David Cutcliffe told the story about Peyton Manning when he first got on campus, and they'd be running gassers, wind sprints, 40-yard sprints. And there always used to be a coach at the 140 and at the goal line to make sure everybody touched the lines and weren't cheating. And Peyton Manning, first day on campus, said, Coach, you guys have other things to do. You don't worry about us not touching the lines because we're all going to touch the lines. He said, because in the fourth quarter against Alabama, I want somebody in the huddle with me who's going to touch the lines and not going to go 38 yards when nobody's looking. That was Peyton Manning's approach to football. That was his approach to the team. He expected everybody to push themselves as hard as he pushed. He would put up the signs around the locker room. It would be workouts in the summertime. Well, of course, that was against NCAA rules, but then he would just go around that by just calling people to make sure they knew that there were workouts. He just pushed this team. I think if there's any one player that helped Tennessee elevate the program to get it to the national championship status, it was Peyton Manning because of his work ethic. He told everybody and showed everybody what it was going to take to win a championship. And he didn't get the thrill of winning the national championship, but he set the stage for everybody else to do it. Drama. He had a keen sense and a knack for understanding the twists and turns of a football or basketball game. He could sense this was a big moment, and he relayed that big moment to the Tennessee fans. John was not only a great broadcaster, he was a great marketer. He knew, had a great sense of what the Tennessee fans wanted, and he gave it to them. And that was his biggest gift from the fact that from a game he could build it into a crescendo and then just take it off the map because the Tennessee fans would be just hanging on his every word. And it's a special gift that he has, and he will always be remembered for that. And Tennessee fans would always talk about the excitement that John Ward brought to games, and he did. I was seriously thinking about, here I am following the footsteps of Lindsey Nelson and George Mooney and John Ward. There haven't been many broadcasters at Tennessee, and I mean it only changes every 3 decades or so. And there I am standing up, and I was really thinking about the football complex was standing on the practice field where when I was a freshman, that's where we practiced. And I was thinking that was back in 1972, and I kind of gone full cycle. Here I was in the exact same spot where I started at Tennessee, and now taking over one of the most high-profile broadcasting jobs in America. And it was a little bit overwhelming. I mean, a lot of things were going through my mind about a lot of the people. When I came to Knoxville in '72, I didn't know anybody. I barely knew the coaches, but and then you look at all the wonderful friends and the people that I've met since I've been here. It was overwhelming. Coach Dickey, when I walked up, Coach Dickey extends his hand to me in a greeting and welcome aboard. And I thought he was going to say, we're glad you're here. And all he said was, when you do your speech, don't forget to mention your wife. That's all he said. I said, all right, Coach, thanks, and went up there.
Pete, when you come into Tennessee, did you have lofty goals of stats, or what was your mindset coming in? I mean, your dad, of course, had set so many records at Ole Miss, but was that in the back of your mind?
Not really, Bob. I went to such a small high school as far as from a competition level. We were AA out of 5A. I can remember just being real nervous about going to play big league college football. I remember talking to my dad one afternoon about the weight coaches sent out a program, said we had to have a bench press test when we got there. And they said, you have a choice between doing 185 pounds or 225 pounds. You can do either one of those. And I didn't think I could lift either one of them. And I was really nervous about that. And I told my dad, because they said Brandon Stewart was a really strong guy. And I said, what am I going to do when I get up there? And he said, son, they didn't recruit you for your bench press. They recruited you to play quarterback. Just go up there and work hard and just do the best that you can do. And so that was sort of a calming factor for me. But I did have a real I was nervous about going up there. Just didn't know how I would fit in with the competition. So all I knew to do was just to work hard. I just really worked hard at all phases of the game, just my throwing, my weightlifting, my film study, and it just made me a better player. And but I was just really excited. When I chose Tennessee, I'd only been there one time for a visit. I'd never been to a football game before. I came one time in January of 1994. There was an ice storm there. It was cold. We couldn't even go in the stadium because the stadium was covered. So these were all the big selling points of Tennessee football. I didn't really get to experience those, but I just chose to go there just because I had a good feeling about it and just the good people there. And I knew it could be a special place.
Winning the SEC championship, did that kind of put a cap on everything and make your career? I mean, now you're in the record book as an SEC champion.
Well, that's always, growing up for me, growing up around the SEC, of course, loving Ole Miss football as much as I did, but always following SEC football. I can remember, Bob, when my younger brother Eli was born, 1982, he was born, and 1981 he was born. Either one, y'all can fix that. But at the time, Georgia was playing in the Sugar Bowl down there in New Orleans, and my older brother Cooper and I wanted to name our younger brother Herschel Walker Manning. And people kind of wondered about that. That's how much we love the SEC, and it really doesn't matter who it was. And so as I got into Tennessee, and the first 3 years, just weren't able to compete for a championship, for the SEC championship, because had trouble, beating Florida, and we were better than all the other teams, just couldn't get into the game. And so my senior year, finally got ourselves into the game, and I can remember that just being an exciting week after we beat Vanderbilt in the last home game, and kind of staying after on the field
with the crowd, and just knowing next week we were going to Atlanta, and I had just heard from some other SEC players just what a special game that was, and so that was a neat time. And to go down there and beat Auburn in the way that we did, it was a great football game, neck and neck, back and forth. And so it's always fun when you win championships. But for me, winning the conference championship was special because of the environment that I grew up in.
Do you talk about the things that attracted you to Tennessee? You could have gone to a lot of places in the SEC and all around the country. What brought you to Tennessee?
My deciding factor was feeling comfortable and having that feeling in my heart that I was going to make a good decision coming to the University of Tennessee. Took visits to Notre Dame, Nebraska, all good places, all good people and everything, but it was something special about those mountains. I remember getting picked up from the airport, and the first thing that caught my attention was the beautiful sight, the mountains, and just the whole atmosphere about Tennessee football was really what brought me here.
But the lure of being the starting quarterback at Notre Dame, I mean, they wined and dined you. How could you turn your back on that?
It was the 108,000 fans, 107,000 consistently that packed that stadium. And actually, before I came to Tennessee, I had never watched a full Tennessee football game ever in my whole life. And when I got here, I saw it on my recruiting visit, and it was something special. And it was something that I could see myself being a part of, and I've had a good career here.
But some people say you turned your back on your home state, and probably be some people down there still won't forget you. How have you dealt with that? How did you deal with it at the time?
Just keep on winning. I can always win that argument if I say, hey, at least I beat you. And that happened. 4 wins against Alabama schools, or actually 5 UAB. I haven't lost to any school from Alabama. So when I go back home, I can hold my head up high.
Are there hard feelings still there?
No, weren't hard feelings at all. Never.
Them toward you.
Oh, okay. I think so. My mom told me earlier this year that she went to a place to get a TV. She wanted a new TV to watch me play, and the guy wouldn't sell the TV. And so she started coming to every game, and it made it better for me, and we had a good year. But there are some hard feelings down there from those fans.
When did you know that Peyton was coming back? Did he tell you?
No, he didn't. I found out when everyone else found out, watching that press conference. And at the time when he announced it, it was sort of like a stalemate of emotions. I didn't know which way to go. And I went home in my dorm room, prayed on it, and it was like a blessing in disguise. My mom told me, she said, God makes things happen for certain reasons. And I had to think about that for a while. I was like, I want to play. But then that year, I developed so much as a quarterback, having a chance to watch Peyton go through the Heisman ranks and this, that, and the other. And we ended up going towards the direction where we picked up from the next season, going to the Orange Bowl and playing a tough Nebraska team. And for me to come in after a season like that, I felt like it was perfect timing.
Everybody was jumping up and down. Did you have to force a smile?
Nah, I didn't. Actually, after it sunk in, I realized that he's going to be coming back again. I accepted it. I was a team guy, and to me, that was the best decision for that football team. With Marcus Nash and all those guys coming back, he had a good supporting cast, for Peyton to come back and have a successful year. And I was all for him. I wanted him to win the Heisman Trophy. I wanted him to go out, beat Florida, and do everything that he wanted to do. And I was a big fan of his, man. I still am. I want to be remembered as the guy that was on the football team that won, and that's all I want out of it. We played this game to win, no newspaper write-ups, no media attention, girls or money or anything. I just want to be known as the guy that won and really played the game to win.
What is it you remember, maybe in the early 90s, just catching a glimpse of Tennessee, and who did you remember? What players and what moments? Right.
I remember Reggie Cobb vividly because at the time my brother and I were in the garage. My mom told us not to go out there. We went out there anyway and found 2 helmets and some paint. The only colors we had was red and orange. And so we had these 2 helmets. I'm like, hey, I want to play against my brother. So I said, well, which team are you going to be? So he picked out an orange team. Naturally, it was Alabama. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, who's orange? I'm thinking of Miami, Syracuse. Didn't want to put that much orange on the helmet. And so I saw, Reggie Cobb score a touchdown. And I was like, who's that team right there? With the T on the helmet. So I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this orange T on my helmet. I'm Tamari, so I can just go ahead and put the T on there. And I did that. And the guy who I made the decision off of was Reggie Cobb. That's how I really remember him. And played ball. I was about 7 or 8 years old then, man. That was a really big game for me, going back home. Actually, it was really my first time going back home and being able to play against Alabama. The first time we went back, it was in Birmingham, and I didn't play much, so it was really big for me. I had a lot of my family there because it was a short drive for them, and Alabama was a really good football team, too. Man, coming out, I had to really control my emotions because it was the biggest crowd to ever witness a football game in the state of Alabama history. I was just listening to all this stuff, Sean Alexander, all of this stuff, man. And when the ball finally kicked off, Coach Sanders said, hey, we're going to go deep, first play of the game. And with that mentality, it really helped me play that game. I knew we wanted to be aggressive. I knew we wanted to just kick their butt. And no matter what happened, I was going to come back and help Coach Sanders and the football team do that. And I got hurt, early in the game. But at halftime, I put some ice on and prayed, came back out and helped the guys pull it through.
They stripped you down at halftime, buck naked, put you in a tub of ice, right? Packed you.
Yeah, we had ice all over my knee. The guys, the coach, Dr. Ivan, Dr. Mathens, all of them doing tests on my knee. It was hurting. I couldn't even walk. And I went out on the football field, to start the next series. I had to call timeout and couldn't even walk to the sideline. And at that time, I'm thinking that the whole season was done for me. And I was about to start crying and this, that, and the other. I got in the locker room, laid down for a little while, and they said, just see how it feels. I got up, started running, and I didn't feel any pain. And I was like, this can't be right, and all my teammates were already on the field. And I just put my stuff back on and ran out. Didn't tell Coach Fulmer, didn't tell anybody. Got on the bike a little bit and just ran into the game. And that's sort of how it went.
Weren't you packed in ice in the Florida game, too?
Florida game, I had to get IVs, and I was sitting there shivering. Coach Sanders came in, are you all right? And I remember his eyes just getting so big, looking at me like, it was funny. But I knew I was going to be able to come back. But, man, I had hurt my shoulder, had to get IVs, and went through the whole 9. But I finished the game. That's all I was thinking about.
It's a complicated playbook. I'm sure what was your first recollection when the first time you saw it?
Well, it wasn't until halfway through it was actually, I'll never forget, it was October, third week in October, we're playing Alabama, and they had a guy, Sam Shade, and we kept talking all year about Sam, Mike, and Will, and they referred to him as Sam, and he didn't play Sam. And I'm thinking, I finally raised my hand, I said, Cutcliffe, I said, I'm so confused now. This guy's first name is Sam, and we're talking about the Sam backer, which is the strong linebacker, and you nickname him Sam, Mike, and Will. And I was so confused, and finally at that point, he took me to the side and says, no, here's the way it really works. I'll never forget it. So the playbook was really overwhelming for the first year.
Any huddle stories or any particular game?
Yeah, I do remember one. It was against Florida, and that week, Julie Moran with ABC Sports had been on campus and talked to a lot of the players. And in the huddle, I remember watching, it was pouring down the rain against Florida at home. And I looked, and Jeff's not paying attention to anything that I'm saying. And I said, hey, Smith, Big Chevy, I call it, Big Chevy, hey, what are you doing? What are you looking at? And I turn around and look, and sure enough, it's Julie Moran in the end zone. And he's like glued on her. He's not focusing on nothing except Julie Moran. We're at the biggest ball game. We're backed up in the end zone, and he's looking at the girls on the sidelines. So that was one of the most. I said, Jeff, we got to concentrate on this game. He said, oh, I'm sorry. He looked at me and goes, boy, she's good looking. So we all turned around and looked and agreed and continued to play. Yeah, that was one of the games that our offense, we racked up probably 200 yards more offense than they had in that game. Did everything offensively that we could, but we make a couple of mistakes late in the ball game that really hurt us. We don't get the 2-point conversion, a quarterback-center exchange that really we turned the ball on that led them to a score that actually went ahead and put them in the driver's seat. And then listen to Tannehill come off the field and look me square in the face and tell me that someday you'll be as good as I am. And I looked at Jeff Smith. He says, I want to kill that guy. And Kevin Mays says, not before I do. And, you just kind of look at times like that are, your team supports you and you're all behind one another. And it's very special moments.
Were you surprised at how much attention that decision generated all over the state?
It really did. And I felt so bad because, I'd get letters from people about, how disappointed they were, but how supportive they were, and that meant so much to me that I know I had let people down. I'd let my mom down in the sense of she wanted me to stay my last year at school, but I knew that I wanted to do what was best for my family and do some things that they had never been able to do. And coming from Bryson City and coming from economically nothing, and to be able to help my family out and put them in a better situation in their life, really weighed a heavy decision in my decision making.
NBC asked me after the game, what did I have to say? For one of the few times in my life, I guess I've been kind of speechless. I just was kind of dumbfounded. I would like to say that this was a game that none of you, in my opinion, will ever forget, as long as you live. I don't think that I've ever been involved with a comeback similar to this in my life, ever. And it was a highly significant opponent that you did it against. That truly, for any football fan or so-called authorities on it, will go down as one of the all-time great football victories in this school's history, and I bet you there's never been a comeback that will compare to it in 101 years of Tennessee football. I say this, jerseys over a little minor victory like that, I'm going to talk to our athletic director, Doug Dickey, and our president, Dr. Joe Johnson, to check with the NCAA rules, but I think some way you'll get the jerseys one day, but we've got 3 more big conference games. I'm not going to talk about that now. I don't want to get wordy. I'm extremely proud of everybody that has something to do with this. Terrific job all the way around. Was one of the things, seniors. Dr. Johnson, what about seniors? Senior class will never be forgotten. Senior class will never be forgotten by Tennessee folks, and certainly not by this staff. Terrific group of people. Dr. Johnson, would you like to say a word? It's our president, Dr. Joe Johnson. 2 words. Thank you all for representing UT in a fantastic way. Congratulations to you and the coaches on the win. Go Big R. Hey, Doug Dickey, our athletic director, he's the one. That's the reason we have good offices and good locker rooms. Hey, ho!
I told Coach Mays the winning edge would be the screen pass before the game. Isn't that right? I told you, you stopped theirs and we made ours go. Way to go, man.
Take a knee. 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 Take a knee out. What a gallant, valiant group of volunteers. Let's keep taking smart pills. All right.
Would be anticlimactic. What an effort. Everybody on the football team made an effort for this win. All I know is we've got one more big one next week. We're going to take them one at a time. We are going to stick together. Defense fought their butts off. Gave up some big plays, came back, stopped them when it counted. Offense, great job. Yes, sir. You're a wonderful, wonderful bunch of people. I know that you will enjoy the win to the max and stay out of trouble, fully out of trouble, so that everybody's in the hunt come Monday to get those Gators. One knee. Those guys fought their tails off. We're going to have a long, traditional rivalry with them. They're going to be hot enough when they come to Knoxville anyway. We'll be a lot more ready for them next year than we were this year. That's beside the point. You don't have to say that to anybody in the meeting. Win with humility. Compliment your opponent. Don't say anything about Florida. Horace, where's Horace? Okay? Nobody says anything one way or the other. Okay? All right, good.
Did you hear? All right, but we backed up what we said. That's good. Be humble. Respect your opponents. We got to go back next year down there. Don't piss them off, Todd. All right? We got to go back, Stoll. You understand? Be humble. Congratulate your opponents. Don't talk about what you're going to do. Cincinnati's next.
It appears you're ready to go play football. And play it like a good football team's supposed to, which you are. A very good team. Most of you fellows were here last year. We were in South Bend, Indiana. In a cold, wintry day, and we played 4 quarters of football and won one of the greatest victories of all time. We got to start quicker today and attack their ass from the first whistle. Attack, attack, attack. Execution, concentration, and get after their asses all day long. Hit them the hardest and the quickest and the longest. This is a big game. Big game. Your last one of 1992 in the regular season, it's a big-time game. And they're going to be good. Take charge. Number 1, the team making the fewest mistakes will win. True, Dave. Tuck the ball in both hands, all you backs, receivers, quarterbacks. Tuck it away. Punt returners, kickoff in. 2, play for and make the breaks. When one comes our way, score. You make your own breaks. You make your own breaks. Attack them, attack them. Get after that quarterback. You got the pitch, you got the pitch. Blast the fullback, you got the dive. 3, if at first the game will break score against us, don't let up. Put on more steam. Leadership, poise, and pride. Get behind. Don't let up. Just get tougher. Do what it takes to make the big play. Number 4.
Ball, Oski, covers, cut spots on offense, pursue a game tackle on defense. This is the winning edge.
Let's go get some breaks. Make our own breaks. Number 5.
Protect our kickers and passers. Keep our heads in the game at all times. Play smart football all day long.
Substitution be ready. Goal line. Short yardage. Hold on. Kicking game. 6.
Press the kicking game. Here's where the breaks are made.
All big games are won by the kicking game breaks. Vanderbilt thinks they can run a kickoff back to midfield on you guys. I don't have much respect for your kickoff coverage. Push our ass in our lanes. Get to it.
Go, baby.
7.
Prepare and fight the Vanderbilt. Keep it there for 60 minutes.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go. Intimidation. Don't join. Nobody pushing anybody else outside. Don't join them out there. Captain's report.
They know they're not as good as us, fellas. They know they're not as good as us. They know how good we are.
Captains. Again, you go out there with pride, full of piss and ginger. Don't be joining them.
Let's show him how we can sing.
Yeah. We don't give a damn about the whole state of Alabama. The whole state of Alabama. The whole state of Alabama. We don't give a damn about the whole state of Alabama. We're from Tennessee. We don't give a damn about the whole state of Alabama. The whole state of Alabama. The whole state of Alabama. We don't give a damn about the whole state of Alabama. We're from Tennessee. We don't give a damn about the whole state of Alabama. The whole state of Alabama. The whole state of Alabama. We don't give a damn about the whole state of Alabama. We're from Tennessee.
Let me have it. I don't know how many balls you got, but you better get some more.
Wait a minute. Wait. I got something to say. We're gonna have a whole lot of game balls that are gonna come out of this game, but we got one that's important tonight, and it goes to this guy standing right here.
No school. No. Hey. Blow up, coach. Seniors, absolutely proud of you. I'm not going to say any speeches, guys. This is a great day in Tennessee football history. We getting ready to start our streak of our own, by God. One time, one day.
Yes.
God bless these young men as they go on through the weekend. Give them the strength to know how to handle a victory as well as they've handled defeats. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Guys, there's no way to stand here and tell you how proud that I am of you, of your coaches. Our fans were fabulous tonight. Hey, everybody contributed, both sides of the ball. But I tell you what, we owe a huge hip hooray for our defense. I'll tell you somebody else. I'll tell you another group. Last year, they weren't real excited about after this football game, but they've come on for real. 3 for that offensive line. Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Before we get started, I'll tell you again, guys, I love every one of you. I love what you stand for. I love how you've gone about your business this year. I love the way we've grown as a football team, the character that you've shown, the work ethic that you've shown. It's really what college football is all about. You've got great players playing great, good players playing as darn good as they can. That's all you can ask for. We have an opportunity in front of us tonight that doesn't come around every day. As I told you, 47 years since Tennessee football players have pulled on that orange shirt and had a chance to compete for a national championship. It doesn't get any better than this. Lay it on the line. You do not have to play perfect, but play your butts off. Play like you know how to play. Play what got you here. How did you get here? Great effort. Swarming to the football. Great tackling. Great blocking. Running the football. Taking care of the football. Take a lot of pride in those orange shirts, guys, as we hit that field tonight. We can't put but 11 on the field, and that's all they can put out there at a single time. 11 on 11, man on man, heart versus heart. Draw that sand, that line in the sand. Okay, and step across and take what you want tonight because it's there for you. Game actions, everybody together. Number one. Team that makes few mistakes win. That's been our motto all year long. We've plus 15 in turnover. Take care of the football and get the football back. Defense play with attitude every snap. But that is our football and we're going to get it back. That will be the difference in this football game. Number two. Play forward, make the breaks, and one comes our way, score. Opportunities, defense, give us opportunities. Offense, take care of the football. Don't put them in any kind of position if they got an easy way to go. I don't believe they can take it 80 yards on our defense. I know that they can't take it 80 yards on our defense. We don't give up the big play. We don't give up the turnover. We win. Have it in your mind and ingrained in your heart. Number three. If the first game of breaks go against you, don't let us put on more steam. Either way it happens at the beginning of the game. We get ahead or we get behind. It's a 60-minute football game. We darn sure know about 60-minute football games from this season. Number four. Protect our kickers, our quarterback, our lead, and our ball game. We get ahead, we're not going to change. Kicking game, guys. Every man on that field playing a kicking game to the utmost of his ability, flying around, making plays. Remember, kicking game is points and field position. Points and field position. Great opportunities in the kicking game. Number five. Ball, icy, cover, block, cut, slice, pursuing games active, for this is winning edge. All of you men flying to the football. Defense, that's your motto. Get the football back. Number six. Press the kicking game. Here's where the breaks are made. Kicking game, men. Points and field position. Number seven, and the most important of all. Carry the fight to Florida State and keep it there for 60 minutes. 60 minutes of rock and stock football. Let's do this, baby. Let's do this, baby. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and glory, forever and ever. Amen. Tonight you represented the state of Tennessee and the men that have worn that orange shirt. It's taken 47 years to get it back in Knoxville, Tennessee, but tonight you got the national championship. Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Hip, hip, hooray! Someone is here visiting us as a great representative of our state of Tennessee also. We're very proud of him. He's in Washington most of the time, but he follows the ball dearly. Gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce you to the Vice President of the United States, Albert Gore.
You guys did it. Let me just say a word. This was the most unbelievable season I've ever witnessed. You guys made your own breaks by having the kind of unity that you developed as a team. Not one person, not two people, but the whole team. It was absolutely fantastic. And always remember, you will tell your grandchildren, as long as you live, that the very first time the United States of America set up an official national championship ranking system with all of the process that went into it, the winner the first time was the I want to congratulate Coach Fulmer and all of you guys. You did great. Congratulations.
The president of Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, Herman Frazier. Woo! Hey, men, know we followed you all year. We've been with you through thick and thin. We were happy to see you capture the championship at our bowl. Congratulations. Good luck to all of you with your futures and your coaching staff. They're the best in the country. Congratulations to all of you. Not to forget the most important thing, one name, count your blessings. That's all. That's all. That's all. Dear God, I thank you for the blessing of being able to be around these young men. I thank you for the character, for leadership, for their integrity, and for their spirit. Please be with them as we travel home and keep us safe. Please keep us humble so that we know that your gifts are what we're able to do. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen.